Welcome to the Jonah Drake Show, hosted by Jonah Drake. The Jonah Drake Show starts now. Welcome back to the Jonah Drake Show. I'm your host, Jonah Drake, and thanks for spending part of your week with us. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, we're glad you're here. Hit that subscribe button, join the conversation in the chat, and let's settle in because we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to start a new segment here where every week we'll kick things off by taking a look at the biggest stories, making headlines, and the topics everyone's talking about. It's where we set the stage for everything else on the show and start the conversation with something just light and not too important, but just something to get us kicked off. So without further ado, it's time for the leadoff. Okay, so today on the leadoff, we're going to talk about the NBA Finals. First off, I want to congratulate the New York Knicks. They've had not only a phenomenal Finals, but they had a great playoff run too. It started beating the Hawks in 6 games. Even though that was the worst team they played, it took the most games to beat them in their entire playoffs. Then they swept both the 76ers and the Cavaliers to advance to the NBA Finals. And as you guys know, they won the NBA Finals in 5 games. It was an absolute dominant run. We have never seen anything like this out of the Knicks. And heck, this is their first championship since 1996. It wasn't that hard for the Knicks to win this, because the series was managed very poorly by the Spurs. They had leads of over 15 points in both games 4 and 5. I'm definitely not an expert about basketball, but I do know that when a team has a lead that big, you do not want to just keep shooting threes. You want to take easy twos, take easy layups, and keep your lead steady and consistent. But instead, the Spurs kept shooting threes. In Game 4, the same game where the Spurs had a 29-point lead for 97% of the game, they shot 43 threes. That's 11 more than the team that came back down 29 points. That's just to put it in perspective for you guys. The NBA Finals MVP went to Jalen Brunson, and well-deserved. In that game where the Knicks came back, Brunson scored 36 points, and in Game 5, he scored 45 points to propel the Knicks to a championship. So there's a lot that can be taken away from this series. I'm not going to hit on it today because this is our leadoff for today, but on Thursday, make sure you guys tune in because we are going to do a full podcast just on the NBA Finals. But let's get into our Bucco Recap for the week. Alright guys, it's time for Bucco Recap. We have reached a very important part of the season for the Pirates. The team is 36-36, 4th in the NL Central, just ahead of the Reds, and just behind the Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Brewers. A West Coast road trip starts tonight against the A's and the Rockies. Let's start with the A's. The A's are 35-36. They're sitting 2nd in the AL West. The A's do have a young, exhilarating team with players like Nick Kurtz, Shea Langoliers, Jacob Wilson, and Lawrence Butler. But just like the Pirates, the A's have struggled in the bullpen. The bullpen for the A's has an ERA of 4.8, just over the Pirates' ERA of 4.18. The A's bullpen has allowed 150 runs this season, once again, just more than the Pirates' 114 runs. It is surprising that a team actually, has a worse bullpen than the Pirates. Next to the Rockies, who come in 27-41, last in the NL West, and this team's probably the worst in baseball. This team does have some offensive potential, though, as they did just score 23 runs yesterday against the A's. But just like the A's and, yes, the Pirates, the Rockies do have some pitching struggles. The worst in the league, to be exact. The 5.59 ERA is the worst in the MLB by far. Now this might be a little skewed because the Rockies play in the most hitter-friendly ballpark, in America, to be exact. But it is crazy that in the road trip, the Bucks will face two teams that have worse bullpens than theirs. You drop 4 here and you're 2 games under. You win 5 and you're 3 games over. They have to win 4 games. I would love to see 5, and that sets you up to go play the Mariners at home, a very, very good ball club. But you need to win at least 4. If you split, then this is going to be probably one of the easiest road trips for your entire season. You need to win more than 4 to propel you to at least get you to the All-Star break above 500. As I said, this team has kind of been kicking the can down the road, hovering around 500. Their 2 stars, O'Neal Cruz and Connor Griffin, are out due to injury, and they're still out for a little while, and that kind of demotes the offense that, for the most part, has been pretty much great. The one bright spot has been Tyler Callahan. Callahan has kind of come out of nowhere. We got him from the Reds last year, and he's just been mediocre in AAA, but when Connor Griffin got hurt, he got called up to the bigs. I was in attendance when he played his first game as the Pirates. But in the MLB, it's been a whole different story than it was in AAA. In 10 games, he has had 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and a batting average of .348. Just absolutely willing this team along. Him, Brian Reynolds, and Brandon Lau carrying this team to 500 baseball right now. Lastly, we need to talk about starting pitching. Now, usually we talk about how bad the bullpen is, and yes, they still suck. But today, I want to talk about starting pitchers. Let's start with Mitch Keller. He has not gone 5 innings since May 24th against the Blue Jays. In the past 3 starts, he has given up 18 earned runs. He has been so extremely inefficient that in his last start against the Dodgers, it took him 98 pitches to only get through 4 innings. Next, Bubba Chandler. We have seen the stuff from Bubba Chandler, but his accuracy just is not there. In 68 innings this season, Bubba has walked 40 batters. In the past 2 games, Bubba has walked 13 combined. The worst came on May 22nd, where he walked 11 total batters. That's just an atrocious stuff from Bubba Chandler. Last, I want to talk about Paul Skeens. Now, Paul Skeens still is one of the best pitchers in the MLB, and he is still right up there in that Cy Young race, and he might even start the All-Star game. But we just haven't seen what we usually get out of normal Paul Skeens. We got it at the beginning of the year. He was going 7, 8 innings, no runs, 1 hit. Now he's giving up 2 runs and walking 3 batters and, giving up 10 hits. And that's not what we're used to from Skeens. And don't get me wrong, that is phenomenal stuff from a pitcher, just a mediocre pitcher. But when you're talking about the reigning Cy Young winner, we just aren't used to that type of stuff from Skeens. This has been our Bucco Recap for the week. Let's get into the FIFA World Cup. Okay, for our last segment today, we are going to dive into the World Cup. The World Cup started on Thursday with an opening game in Mexico, where Mexico defeated South Africa 2-0. And then on Friday, we had the big game, USA defeating Paraguay 4-1. So let's jump in with some of my predictions. First up, who is the favorite to win the tournament? I think it is France. France national soccer team is one of the most successful, the most talented, and the most pedigreed teams in the entire international soccer industry. France has won the World Cup twice, once in 1998 when they were the host, and they also won in 2018 when it was in Russia. France has reached the final 2 consecutive World Cups, one when they won it in 2018, and then last World Cup in 2022 in Qatar when they lost to Argentina in the final. If they make the final this year, they would have been only the second European nation to make it to 3 straight finals. The first player I want to talk about is team captain Kylian Mbappe. one of the fastest and most dangerous attackers in the world. He scored a hat-trick in the 2022 World Cup final against Argentina. Next, Ousmane Dembele is one of the most electrifying players and is a key piece for France's attack. He's the face of France right now because PSG just won the Champions League title a couple weeks ago, and he's the star on that team alongside Mbappe. Dembele and Mbappe will be the most dangerous attack in the entire tournament. France often relies on elite speed from the wings. They have a very strong defense, and they have very physical midfield play, making them very hard to compete against. Next, which powerhouse has the most pressure? To this question, I think Portugal, because Portugal has never won a World Cup. With their golden age of players quickly running out, is this their final chance? Cristiano Ronaldo, this is likely his final World Cup before he retires, and this is his last chance to get the trophy he's missing. He has Champions League, he has all his stuff with Juventus, but this is the one thing that he is missing. Cristiano Ronaldo is not the only star on this team. Some other stars include Bruno Fernandes and Rafael Leo. Portugal has elite midfield play, world-class attackers, and a solid defense. Portugal often does get out to big leads, but when they don't, that's when they struggle. When the game is close, that's when they could get upset. What team do I think is overrated? I think it's Brazil. Even though the Brazilian national team is ranked 6th in the world, in the past 4 years leading up to the World Cup, Brazil has suffered some losses to teams ranked lower than them, including Japan, Paraguay, Uruguay, Colombia, and the worst of all, Bolivia. And draws to teams like USA, Costa Rica, Morocco just on Saturday, Venezuela, and Tunisia. And through all of this, Brazil has only won 5-1 against top 10 teams since 2023. That lone win came against England in March of 2024 when they beat them 1-0. Here we go. Let's take a look at some of my potential dark horses. First, Senegal. Senegal has a great mix of well-oiled veterans and some young stars. Senegal reminds me of the Morocco team that advanced all the way to the semifinals in the 2022 World Cup. Though, Senegal will have to navigate the toughest group in the tournament with teams like France, Norway, and Iraq. Next up, another team from that group, Norway. They have two of the biggest stars in the entire tournament. One being Man City striker Erling Haaland, and another, Arsenal midfielder Martin Odegaard. And last, Turkey. The Turks will be the most challenging team to the USA, I think, even though they just lost to Australia on Saturday. They have young stars like Ardu Güler and Kenan Yildiz as the faces of the team. I would, not be surprised if they top the group. So that's going to be our podcast for the week. Thank you guys for watching. We will be back on Thursday, which, as I said, a deep dive into the NBA and NHL finals. And we will see you guys next week.